Now, let me give you an idea what I'm talking about here with this red line and the media and Obama's allies doing everything they can to cover up for that gaffe. ABC is hilarious in their efforts here. In the middle of their report on this, they say, but what Obama said was a little less clear. And this is how they're trying to water it down and make it sound to everybody like Obama did not commit to anything. So what Obama said was a little less clear. And then they quote Obama, who starts off by saying that he means to be clear. And as he always does. Now, let me be clear. I don't want anybody to misunderstand. He said, we have been very clear to the Assad regime, but also to other players on the ground, that a red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized. That's a red line. He said it. That's the exact quote. We have been very clear to the Assad regime, but also to the other players on the ground, that a red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized. Now, the gray area there is translating what a whole bunch means. And that's where they're going to play games here. Well, we said if we saw a whole bunch, he could fire 2 or 3 chemical weapons, and Obama said, that's not a whole bunch, that's a few. So after Obama says this, let me read this to you again. This is the Obama quote. We've been very clear to the Assad regime. And what that means is they got on the phone and had somebody tell him, probably Kerry, and maybe Hillary. And granted, if you're Assad, you're quaking in your boots when you hear from either of them. We've been very clear to the Assad regime, but also to other players on the ground. A red line for us is when we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized. ABC then says it was also unclear what the consequences of crossing that red line would be. And this is what I mean when I tell you they're trying to get Obama out of this jam. Because he drew the red line, he defined what it was. He didn't say what would happen, but a red line, you cross the red line, means that's unacceptable, right? At least it means it's unacceptable. But here's ABC. It was unclear what the consequences of crossing that red line would be. So even when Obama says he's being very clear, he's being too nuanced for us mere mortals. We just don't have the brain power to keep up with this man, who's so many steps on the chessboard ahead of us. It was unclear what the consequences would be. Now, how can we be sure that Obama isn't trying to get us into yet another war? I mean, we're in 2. We're in Afghanistan, and we've got the tail end of Iraq going on. And remember, Obama needs to distract people from his falling apart domestic agenda. Well, falling apart from our perspective. From his perspective, it's right on schedule. But he still needs people distracted from it. People don't like what's happening. They don't yet associate Obama with it. You know that drill. But even so, Obama doesn't want to run the risk that at some point people are going to associate what's happening with him. So just keep people distracted. It's exactly what he accused Bush of doing. You know, he made a speech in 2002 when he was a state senator. Obama didn't. He accused Bush of using Iraq as a way of distracting from the horrors of the recession that Bush had provided. Okay, so who's to say that's not what Obama is doing now? ABC News headline is, Obama's red line, what he actually said about Syria and chemical weapons. So the race is on to walk Obama back from that red line. Now, ABC and the media can do all they want to try to protect Barack Obama domestically. But you know that the mullahs in Iran are watching this, and you know that the Prime Minister of Turkey, Obama's buddy, you know that they're watching this in Egypt, the Muslim Brotherhood. You know the Saudis are watching. You know Al-Qaeda is watching this. And they are learning, and they are making assessments. Meanwhile, the domestic media and the Democrat Party is simply trying to protect Obama domestically from a red line gaffe, or a gaffe that I mean, if you're gonna say there's a line you cross that we won't accept, and you don't do anything about it when that line's crossed, that's what they're trying to erase. They're trying to say, well, it was never really clear. Well, Obama never really said what he would do. And Obama never said what the consequences would be and what really crossing the line would constitute. So they're doing everything they can. But around the world, where real bad guys are not interested in whether or not Obama has a good day or not, are paying very close attention, because they obviously think that they can get a line on how far they can go. No matter what, nobody wants to be attacked by us. Nobody wants to run afoul of us. They really don't. But if they think that they can engage in certain levels of activity with impunity, they will. And so that's what they're looking at. So this, I think this is just another clear example of outright incompetence and irresponsibility when it comes to foreign policy and the projection of American power. ABC seems to be carrying the water on this. And they say in their story, President Obama's red line on Syria isn't quite as straightforward as it's made out to be. No, of course it isn't. Of course it. Nobody knows what the red line means. Nobody knows what crossing it means. Nobody knows what you have to do to cross it. Nobody knows what's going to be done if you cross it. That's what they're trying. Again, they're aiming this. ABC aiming their coverage at the people that watch the MTV Awards on Sunday night, the people who go to movies, the low information crowd. That's Obama's base, and they're doing everything they can to protect him from this. And get this, the use of chemical weapons itself was not exactly Obama's original red line, as he laid out during a news conference at the White House on August 20th. Here's Obama. We have been very clear to the Assad regime, but also to other players on the ground, that a red line for us, we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being used. He was very clear. That's what the red line is. ABC says, well, the use of chemical weapons itself, not exactly Obama's original red line as he laid it. Yes, it was. It most certainly was his original red line. And here comes ABC, dutifully protecting him, rewriting it, saying it. What he said was unclear, and he really wasn't talking about chemical weapons so much. It's shocking. Well, no, it's not shocking. Nothing shocking where the media is concerned. But it sure as heck is illustrative.